The Detroit Tigers are over 500. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And your Detroit Tigers are now over 500 on, well, as of August 27th. We'll see what happens in the game on August 28th. That is a 6-2 victory over the Los Angeles Angels. They're now 67-66. They are on a 5-game winning streak. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 12-3 in the team's last 15 games. And they're 5.5 out of the wild card. I got bullied into saying it. Okay. I have been trying very hard not to bring up wild card standings. I've been bullied by enough of you where I'll throw that in there. Okay. Seattle, everybody talks about how they're in the wild card race. They're 5 back. The Tigers are now 5.5. I'll throw it on there at the end of the record and all of the other things the team has accomplished lately. Okay. They are on an absolute heater. 12-3 in the team's last 15 games, and now a 5-game winning streak. Had a rain delay in this ball game that lasted over 2 hours. I think Benetti said that the rain delay was longer than the game itself, which is always fascinating. Look, this was a game that involved a rain delay. It was really wet and gross outside. Brant Hurter was on the bump. I don't think that was something that they expected to get as many innings as they ended up probably getting out of him. But B, again, given all of the situation with, again, the rain delay and whatnot, I don't know if expectations were too terribly high. And yet, again, they get a comfortable victory over a bad team. I am very aware that the last 5 games during this win streak have been against bad baseball teams. The Angels are bad, and the White Sox are one of the worst teams ever. I do not care. Good teams beat bad teams. Okay? That doesn't matter to me that they're against bad teams. Yes, you are better than them. You should beat them. Keep winning. Just because we're probably not making a run or anything like that doesn't mean they should just roll over and lose to teams much worse than them. Keep winning. Kids are all right. What went right in this ball game? Slow start offensively, but the second time through the lineup and then really throughout the rest of the game was pretty solid, and they really turned it around. Obviously had the 3 big home runs in this ball game. Riley Greene, 425 feet to dead center. Kerry Carpenter, 425 feet to left center. And Jake Rogers, 422 feet to dead center. Needs to hit the weight room, okay? Get that number up to 425 like the rest of the team. No, 3 absolute monster home runs. And yeah, like that at the end of the day, that was the difference. Again, like I said, got off to a kind of a slow start offensively. Johnny Cueto at 38 years old was looking pretty sharp there the first time through, but they adjusted and eventually he just kind of unraveled as well. I mean, especially the Jake Rogers and Riley Greene home runs. I mean, those were meatballs. Those were cookies right down the heart of the plate. One of them was a 90-mile-an-hour sinker that was pretty much middle and broke into the barrel of the bat. So they took advantage and, walked away with it with 3 home runs, and the team ended up putting up 6. Matt Vierling, a really nice piece of hitting as well. I think that was the first run of the ball game, if I'm remembering correctly. Parker Meadows gets on third base. due to some poor defense. We'll talk about that a little bit later by the Angels in the outfield. Great movie, by the way, one of my favorites growing up. And then Matt Vierling takes velocity away, slaps it the other way. That's kind of like the perfect epitome of what I want Matt Vierling to become, right? I'm never going to expect like 800 or higher OPS, but if he can be a 750 to 770 OPS guy with his athleticism and his positional versatility, and on top of that, right, all breaking stuff inside, off speed inside, he can turn and burn on and pull for home runs, and all the velocity away, he can just kind of slap the other way and do his, opposite field single type stuff that he was so frequent in doing last season. I think that could be a pretty reasonably valuable ball player, and he could be somebody that even hopefully when this team, hopefully when this team is really good again and competing for like deep playoff pushes and whatnot, that he can carve out a role for himself. I think that there's certainly a path for him to do that. So really nice piece of hitting from him in this ball game as well. And look, when it comes to the offense, that's kind of the end of the conversation. Like this was a fine, like solid offensive performance against, and they ended up putting up 6 runs against the team they probably should have put up 6 runs on, right? And obviously the 3 home runs will help with that. Parker Meadows, the triple, probably should have been an out and probably should be looking at an over in this game, but again, shows off how important having speed on the base paths is. And that was just a really nice piece of hitting. For him to drive that ball on the outer half of the plate was something he was not able to do pre-send down. So yeah, solid. And really, I think the most noteworthy thing and something that kind of, spills into what went wrong as well as kind of somewhat correlated is a lot of the run production in this ball game came from the top of your lineup, right? Parker Meadows, Riley Greene, Matt Vierling, Kerry Carpenter. That's your top 4. And then Jake Rogers, obviously, with the home run, is your 9 hitter. But outside of that, right, like five of your runs came via the top 4 guys in the lineup card and guys that are hopefully you're building around going forward. So I think that that's a good sign as well. And then we'll talk about kind of the flip side of that, which was the bottom half of the lineup, sans Jake Rogers, obviously, later on in the show. And then the pitching. Pitching continues to be a really, really, really solid development for this team. And obviously we knew that going into the year. We knew that the pitching was going to be the strong suit of this team. We knew the pitching coaching staff was going to be the strong suit of this coaching staff and of this organization, really, pitching development as a whole. But I mean, you look at the production they are getting from certain guys, and it is just unbelievably impressive. And the fact that they are going to be able to, the Tigers, hang their hat on this side of the ball and that part of their coaching and development staff going forward. We've already talked about it with Lorenzen and Flaherty, right? With free agents being able to say, hey, if you want a career resurgence and you want to get better, come play for the Detroit Tigers. That's something Scott Harris has talked about a lot as well. But like Brant Hurter was great in this ball game. Hannafy was fantastic in this ball game. Pitching continues to thrive, and that's something they talked about a little bit on the broadcast as well. Over the last month and a half, yes, the offense is certainly better than it was. Far cry from what it was for most of, the latter half of May and June. But this team is not where it's at right now if they do not get a lot of really gutsy and important innings from guys they had no intention of giving innings to going into the season. Right? The starting pitching evaporated overnight like that. It disappeared. And they still kept their head, not only kept their head above water, they actually won more without their starting pitching depth because of guys like Hannafy and Hurter and Cater Montero stepping up, etc. Salmons, right? The list goes on. And that is a testament to not only the players, first and foremost the players, but this organization's strengths as well. Let's get a little bit more of a deeper dive on Brant Hurter and Brennan Hannafy. We will do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all tonight about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships and also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They have superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home that huge win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Also got to tell y'all about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best in the business. They're America's number one daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can get in on all the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today, where you can turn $10 into $1,000. That is 100 timesing your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can also sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So many fun offers, so many fun stats to look at. Starting pitching, strikeouts we talk about here all the time. But football season is back, and there's a ton of fun action to get over on the football side of things as well. So download the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against the Angels and talking about anything else surrounding the Tigers organization. Also, after you make us your first listen every day, make Locked On MLB your second listen. Host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, is here to provide daily national expertise along with his trademark humor to get you ready for the MLB playoffs right here in the dog days of summer. Again, Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So talking about what went right in this 6-2 victory over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The pitching, we talked about a lot of the kind of the me drooling over how good of production they've gotten from so many players that I didn't expect them to. Brant Hurter, the lefty, obviously being one of those. 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. His ERA is now 3.57 on the season and over 20 innings of work. Look, he did not have blow you away stuff, right? I think he ended the game with 4 or 5 swings and misses, right? Fastball doesn't peak very high velocity wise. That sinker that he was offering in this ball game was a legitimate weapon, and he just threw it over and over and over and over again and got ground out after ground out after ground out after ground out, and it worked, right? This is an Angels team that is not very good, and for Brant Hurter to go out there and give you 5 valuable innings of 2-run ball means the absolute world to this organization. That is a tip of the cap to Brant Hurter. That is so awesome for not only him, obviously, but again, for this team with where they're at right now. And that's really was the name of the game. There's not a ton of high end. I know I got super nerdy with the breakdown for Ty Madden yesterday. Hurter's kind of the opposite. He just went up there and went, I'm going to throw my 92-mile-an-hour sinker over and over again and mix in a slider here and there every once in a while and get a lot of weak contact. And that's exactly what happened, and he did it pretty darn well. And honestly, if the defense behind him was a little bit better, he might have even improved on that slightly on top of that. So great outing for Brant Hurter. And then Brennan Hanafy honestly might have been the star of the show. I was very, and it'll get lost in over the course of the season. Very few people will remember, Brennan Hannafy when they think of the Tuesday night baseball game between the Tigers and the Angels here in late August, but he was phenomenal. I thought he looked great. 2 2/3 innings of perfect ball with 2 strikeouts, was topping out at like 96 miles an hour, and his slider was disgusting. That thing, I think Benetti said at one point, it has teeth, right? Like that is what it looked like. Like that thing was moving a country mile horizontally, and I was just very, very impressed with him. And again, it wasn't like, oh, he was only throwing 1 inning, so he just kind of got to like empty the tank and just leave it all out there. No, he threw almost 3 innings. He was an out away from 3 full innings of work, and his stuff still looked like that. He has a 1.72 ERA this season, obviously in a very small sample size. And then, like Shelby Miller, obviously a little shaky there, is able to close the door with the help of Jason Foley. And this bullpen walks away, giving up 0 runs yet again. And that is something that, again, in late May, June, even into July, I wouldn't have told you was going to be a regular occurrence. And yet, over the last couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, the bullpen's been a lot better. The pitching's been really, really good. And again, I know a lot of people are going to look at the offense because it's the young lineup and it's fun and they are scoring more and they deserve a ton of credit. But this team isn't where it's at right now without some really good pitching from some guys that, like I said earlier, no one expected to provide really good pitching going into the year. Let's talk about what went wrong in this game. I'm going to get pretty nitpicky with these because there wasn't an overarching, like, oh, wow, this just went poorly all game. Like, I mean, they won by 4 runs against a not very good baseball team. Like, they kind of had the upper hand from the 4th inning on. First time through the lineup was not very competitive, and I think that might have just been a feeling out process. You also sit around for 2.5 hours waiting for this ball game to start, and they did inevitably turn it around. So I'm not really too mad about it, but it was not pretty ABs early there. Johnny Cueto was just peppering them with sinkers low and away, and nobody wanted to swing at it, and they started swinging at it, and look where we ended up. Also, just in general, I mean, more swing and miss and more strikeouts than I guess I ideally would like against 2024 Johnny Cueto and the 2024 Angels bullpen, sans Ben Joyce, right? Like, I mean, and he didn't even pitch in this game. I'm just saying in general, like 12 strikeouts in this ball game probably could use to, wouldn't hurt to cut that down a little bit. But again, they ended up putting up 6 runs. I'm getting pretty nitpicky with this side of the show. Something that I'm not going to get nitpicky about and genuinely was a struggle for this team was the bottom part of the lineup outside of obviously Jake Rogers there. Colt Keith through Ryan Kreidler, 0 base runners. That's 4. That's almost half your lineup. That's 4 players in your lineup all in a row provided 0 base runners in this ball game. That's Colt Keith, Spencer Torkelson, Ryan Sweeney, and Trey Sweeney, and Ryan Kreidler. Goodness gracious. And so that's something that needs to be addressed. Sweeney has not hit very well so far at the major league level after crushing it in Toledo. And Ryan Kreidler, we can transition to him. He finds himself on this side of things as well. Specifically, I do think that there is a chance that Ryan Kreidler's not making it through the winter on this 40-man roster. He just straight up hasn't been able to hit at the major league level. And he provides some positional versatility. He can provide some good defense, but also has a decent amount of errors for as small of a sample size as he has. I don't foresee him being a long-term part of this team as it stands right now. 118 average, 372 OPS. Unfortunate because at one point he was looked at pretty highly in this organization, in the hierarchy of the prospect rankings and whatnot. But I think that we're starting to see that, this winter might be the end of his time on the 40-man roster here. And then Spencer Torkelson had a really rough day. If you want to point at one individual player who had, I don't know, the roughest day, if you want to try and qualify it. Spencer Torkelson 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, brutal defense as well, pop up to right field. Just, I don't know what he was doing. Like and some of that fault is on Matt Vierling as well. I'm not trying to just say he's off the hook, but like he had plenty of time to turn around and he just stood there and chose not to and tried to do like the over the shoulder thing. And I don't know. It was really ugly. He didn't play it correctly at all. And again, rough day at the plate on top of that. But again, like this is a pretty nitpicky list. The defense as a whole, I could say I wasn't really impressed with, but it was also a gross and wet ball game, and the Angels defense was not very good either. So not gonna really pin that on the Tigers specifically, but yeah, not a great defensive outing. And then Shelby Miller, like not being able to get the final out, I guess, hitting Brandon Drury, having to use Jason Foley, not ideal. I think you'd rather not use your high leverage reliever there and save him for later if you have to. But again, like got the job done at the end of the day. And then as promised by some people on Twitter, during the rain delay, I watched a documentary and did a crossword, and I was horrible at the crossword. So I'm going to put that in what went wrong by popular demand by several people online that wanted me to put it in there. Yeah, I did a really poor job. I didn't even get halfway done. It was not good. So that's going to be, accountability here on Locked On Tigers. So not very good performance by me today either. Let's talk stuff. Okay, we'll do that right after this. Got to tell you today about our friends over at Liquid IV. Get hydrated with electrolytes and essential vitamins and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, Liquid IV. I have Liquid IV on me at all times. My family has them on them all times. And it is just the definition of clutch, right? You want to go to a concert. You want to go outdoors, right? Go hiking or something. You want to go to a sporting event. You have a long night out. You name it. Liquid IV is there to provide you, again, nutrients, much more than just a regular water does. You just tear, pour, and live more. One stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, and as always, non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off of your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. It's 20% off of your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Also got to tell you all about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that allows getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's awesome. They have so many fantastic features. Again, Game Time Picks their new feature, but they have all-in pricing, seat views, where you can see, pictures of the seat before you purchase it, the lowest price guarantee, and the Game Time ticket coverage, where you are covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in as always. Let's talk stuff. So Brant Hurter getting the start, again, going 5 innings and only using, well, they ended up using 4 pitchers, I guess, because Foley had to come in at the end. But I think that was a success all around. Getting the amount of innings they got from him and Hannafy specifically, what was wonderful. And I think that that's so important with A, the amount of innings this organization needs right now, but B, going forward, especially with the potential of Mize coming back, Skubal on 6 days rest, like you still need a lot of innings, and they got that today from Hurter and Hannafy. So tip of the cap to them. That transitions us into the conversation about Casey Mize, who could potentially come back Friday. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't have any new information, but that is a rumor that continues to swirl. And the Tigers say that they'll talk about it on Wednesday and Thursday and discuss the next steps. But there is a potential for Casey Mize to return on Friday. Tarek Skubal pitching on Saturday. That will give him 6 days rest. They're trying different things to really preserve his arm, not overwork him here at the end of the season. They're going 5 innings, a decent amount lately, 5 or 6 innings instead of, letting him go 7 plus. And I think that giving him 6 days rest here is a really easy way to accomplish that. So, yeah, I'm totally fine with it. And again, if you're going to get important innings from guys, that gives you the flexibility to be able to do that. So, credit where credit is due there. That's kind of like all I have on the field. Just the fact that from the Angels' perspective, how the mighty have fallen. Like, I guess really I say the mighty have fallen. They haven't made the playoffs since we last made the playoffs. They were never really the mighty, but they were always in the news cycle because of Trout and Ohtani, and now they have neither of them currently because Trout is hurt. And the team is just bad, man. It's just not good. And for as much heat as we talk about involving Javi Baez and that contract situation, Anthony Rendon, that has to be the worst contract in ball, right? It has to be. That has been a miserable situation for the fans of the Angels as well. Just it's tough to watch. Like I always liked rooting for the Angels. I have a lot of friends who are Angels fans, but my goodness, they are 24 games under 500 now. And there's not a lot of long-term pieces of the future on that major league team either. Like there's really not. And yeah, they got their work cut out for them going forward. It might be some long years ahead over there in Anaheim. And meanwhile, your Detroit Tigers are over 500 on August 27th. That is absolutely wonderful. And look, Cleveland has collapsed. They are now tied with the Royals for first place in the AL Central. I'm not saying Cleveland's going to collapse so hard that they're like not going to make the playoffs or anything, but they have fallen off an absolute cliff. And that was something we talked about earlier in the year. Just how they were winning games just didn't seem to be very sustainable, and it's catching up to them. And so we'll see what happens with this division going forward. But I'm really just focused on the Detroit Tigers, man. Like I know that people want to get wrapped up in the wild card chase and the playoff hunt and everything like that. And again, 5.5 back, crazier things have happened, right? You got over a month of baseball still. I'm not trying to say, if you're all in on that camp, I'm not trying to say like, wake up, like, grow up. Don't think that. You be a fan however you want to be a fan. All I'm saying is I am just going game to game, right? I'm not going to buy back in and then have them, start losing games because they're a young, inexperienced team when they start playing better teams here, later. Like I'm not going to buy in and then get my heart broken again. Like I'm just really game to game. This is still for development. The rest of this season is still the priority is development. The trade deadline is passed. We're not going to become buyers magically, right? There's nothing to add. This is for development. That's what this part of the season is for. That's what the rest of the season is for. And winning helps development. So keep winning. And if something cool happens and they do play themselves into that conversation and they do go on a run and they are playing meaningful baseball in the middle and end of September, then that is a beautiful and awesome side effect of development that we will absolutely celebrate and cover like heck and be loud and rowdy about. But this is still, at the end of the day, I'm just going game to game going, okay, let's see this young as heck ball club win some ball games, because that is good for this organization. And that is a wonderful thing to watch unfold right in front of us because they're winning a lot lately. 12-3 in the team's last 15. And for as much as, you can point and poke holes in the opponent for the last 5 games, you can't for the first 7 wins on there. Right? You're talking about Yankees. You're talking about Mariners. You're talking about Giants for a game, I think, in there. Talking about Cubs, who might not be a playoff team, but are still around 500. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so the Tigers play the Angels again, obviously, tonight. That will be Griffin Canning against a bullpen game for the Tigers. I really liked Canning out of college, went to UCLA. His fastball has just been completely ineffective. And it's not like a slow, low-velocity pitch. It's just not a good pitch. It's 94 with not a lot of movement. And it's been getting crushed this year. He's got an ERA over 5. His secondary stuff is actually pretty decent. I kind of like his slider that he offers. It's like 88, upper 80s, even low 90s at times slider. I like the secondary stuff. I still think there's a good pitcher in Griffin Canning. I still believe that there is, but that belief, gets slimmer and slimmer It feels like every day. And yeah, a large part of that is because his fastball has just not been a very good pitch this year. And really, you can date that back for most of his major league career here. So we'll see what the Tigers are able to do. We'll see what the Tigers are able to do, man. Also, the documentary I watched during the rain delay, I just poked myself in the eye. What are you doing, dude? Oh my gosh, that hurt. Golly. Okay, now that I'm crying, the documentary that I watched during the rain delay was the Armando Galarraga documentary. So I encourage everyone to go watch that. ESPN put out a documentary. It's only 45 minutes or an hour long on the 28 out perfect game by Galarraga back in 2010. Right there, if you are watching on YouTube, that's a Galarraga imperfect game poster that he digitally signed, not actually signed. Yeah, has been in my room wherever I've lived for most of my life ever since obtaining it, I guess. So yeah, it was cool to see. Jim Joyce is part of it, Galarraga is part of it, Verlander, Scherzer, Brandon Inge. I mean, they really, Austin Jackson. They talk about the catch, right? Like Jim Leland, right? They bring back David Dombrowski. They bring back everybody, and they even then ask Bud Selig straight up. I give a ton of credit to the woman that was asking questions. I don't remember her name, but just straight up was like, are you going to reverse this or no? And his reaction is pretty crazy. So yeah, great documentary. Go watch it again over at ESPN. It released last weekend or 2 weekends ago, maybe now. And I was looking forward to watching it and finally did with my roommate here before, during the rain delay. So thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will be back tomorrow, baby. Just keep winning. You know, the best part about being a game over 500 is that today you're playing to be 2 games over 500. Let's do it. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.